He's the fourth highest rated passer in Super Bowl history, ahead of Bart Starr, Kurt Warner, and Tom Brady. He is the fifth most passing yards behind only Elway, Montana, Warner, and Brady. Two of those guys played more games. He averages an incredible 14.7 yards per attempt in one of his games and 10.6 in another. Bradshaw, whenever it got to the big dance, he was ready to go. He went from being a really good regular season quarterback to a slam dunk Hall of Famer. I honestly think that if the Packers had a different quarterback than Bart Starr, a comparable game manager, I think they still could have won 4 of the titles that they did. In my opinion, though, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that if the Steelers do not have Bradshaw, they don't win any rings. 1974, the Raiders would have blown them out in the title game. The Bills could have absolutely beaten them. And the Vikings, you know what? If they'd have held the Steelers' offense down and gotten potentially a field goal, could have been a different game. Super Bowl 10 against the Cowboys. The 2 big touchdown passes, the one to Grossman, the one to Swan, the bomb at the end of the game. Super Bowl 13 is 4 touchdown passes over the Cowboys. Super Bowl 13 against Cowboys. Super Bowl 14 with the Rams. The big touchdown pass to John Stallworth, and the other big one to set up the Franco Harris touchdown at the end of the game to close out their dynasty. In my opinion, there's no doubt in my mind because of that, Bradshaw's a better quarterback. Bart Starr, on the other hand, he was more or less an extension of Lombardi. Don't screw it up. And Starr had some really good games in his career. Let me tell you, he wasn't as prolific, didn't do near as much, and honestly, I think if he was put in Bradshaw's position, had to exceed and throw the big pass the way he did, I don't think Starr would have done as well. Advantage Bradshaw. And my 4 versus 1 matchup, number 1 Unitas versus number 4 Staubach, John Unitas again. He was the father of the position. He was so freaking tough. He was 6 foot 194 his whole career. That's basically me plus about 30 pounds. That's not big at all. By quarterback standards, he's a shrimp. He's smaller than Michael Vick. Hell, he's not much bigger than Johnny Manziel in terms of his height. What does that tell you? The guy was tough as nails. And Staubach, he had Tom Landry, he had all these great players around him, as did Unitas. But I think the tiebreaker is this. It's that Unitas led the greatest comeback in NFL history, the greatest comeback drive in NFL history, twice in the same game. The 58 title game. He went up the field against the Madison Avenue Giants, rated by NFL.com as the 6th greatest defense of all time, with Sam Huff and Emlyn Tunnell and Andy Robustelli. He went right up the field in those guys, twice in a row. Once for a field goal, once for a touchdown. Game over. Staubach had some great comebacks. He's had so many great comebacks. The one against Washington in 1979, I believe it was. Big player in the Super Bowl, but he wasn't as great of a leader as he was. Unitas more or less was the team at the end of his career in Baltimore. In that there was really no other guy you could honestly say had as big an impact as a quarterback did in his team than Unitas. And I think that's the reason why he deserved to be ranked just slightly ahead of Bart Starr. Not Bart Starr, slightly ahead of Roger Staubach here. He's slightly better because better thrower, not quite as good of a mover, but is just insanely tough. So I got to give him a slight nod. So that leaves us with the final of the Baby Boomers bracket, Bradshaw versus Unitas. And as much as I love Terry Bradshaw, as much as he's one of the most beloved in his retired days, not so much during his playing days, one of the most beloved characters in Pittsburgh sports history, Unitas is still the best. Ironically enough, Unitas is from Pittsburgh, so I think he has that still town toughness. Unitas is tough. He's tougher. Not as big as Bradshaw, not quite the rocket arm, but his accuracy is much superior. my opinion, slightly better in the clutch. And Bradshaw had Swan and Stallworth when he put up some great numbers. But I do not honestly think that Unitas would have done as good with those numbers. I think those guys. I think he'd have done much better. If you give Johnny Unitas, Lynn Swan, and John Stallworth, my God, the plays that he would make, the quarterbacks that he would beat, the numbers he put up, my God. But in all honesty, Unitas over Bradshaw because of his mystique, because of his ability to throw the ball, not as good as Bradshaw, but with more accuracy, and the fact that he was calling plays and he pretty much ran the game. And that 47-game touchdown streak is so impressive. One game, and that was back in the 50s and 60s where they ran the ball on the 1-yard line. They didn't throw it. So he was throwing legit touchdown pass, not these 1-yard dinkers, every single game for 47 straight games. Man, that guy was good. Unitas wins the baby boomers bracket. So that leaves Tom Brady versus Joe Montana in a matchup of the Right Now versus Generation X bracket in their Final Four matchup. And the other half will be Brett Favre versus Johnny Unitas. Tomorrow night, be sure to stay tuned as I will reveal the greatest quarterback as proposed by this bracket. Do I think he is truly the greatest quarterback ever? I'll be talking about as well, because you've got Tom Brady, Joe Montana, Brett Favre, and Johnny U. So stay tuned for tomorrow night. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you've enjoyed my little broadcasts tonight. Good night, everybody. And as always, have a great day.